In episode 4, the Bridgertons are getting ready to host their annual Hearts and Flowers ball. Just about every single family is invited to the soiree. Obviously, the Schwarmers are invited, but they're already there. Edwina is feeling a lot better. She thinks she realized why Anthony did not propose to her. It's because of Kate. She's noticed that Kate hasn't been quite herself since the bee sting, and Kate starts thinking maybe she's on to me. Maybe she knows what me and Anthony almost did. But Kate is definitely surprised when Edwina says, he hasn't married me yet because of you and your relationship with him. You guys hate each other. So she begs her sister to help her get that proposal. They, along with the Bridgertons, wait for everybody to arrive. The families all arrive, and it is customary for Lady Bridgerton to greet them all one by one. And as she's doing so, Daphne is right by her side. But Daphne can't help but mention to her mother that she's concerned her brother is making a rash decision. Daphne doesn't feel like Anthony really knows Edwina at all. So if Anthony isn't going to get to know Edwina, Daphne will on his behalf. One of the people that Daphne and Lady Bridgerton do not greet is Penelope. She's in great spirits ever since coming to an agreement with Madame Delacroix. Madame Delacroix has been able to use her skill set to get Penelope's words to the printer, doing so hiding them in a dress that's delivered to him. The only issue they have is the printing apprentice, a guy named Theo, who, by the way, is the same guy who put Eloise in her place, finds it weird that the printer is getting a dress delivered to him and sees the printer pull out the paper. But, hey, for the time being, everything's going great. Penelope runs up to Eloise and Colin and finds out, though, that Eloise is still on the hunt for Whistledown. But it's a little bit of a mixture of both. Yes, Eloise does want to find out who Whistledown is, but she took the paper that Theo gave her about women's rights, and she loves it. She's been following it along. It's a real radical movement in the time. But as Penelope is making the case that the printer is not connected to Whistledown, she gets more concerned because it seems like Eloise is getting a little too cozy with this printing apprentice, Theo. Not too far away, as Edwina is talking to Anthony, Kate walks out and gets called over to the table by Edwina. It's pretty awkward interaction between Kate and Anthony. After Edwina tries to force some small talk out, Edwina brings up how Kate and Anthony should hang out, and Anthony brings up how he's busy. He's going shooting with the other guys. When Edwina brings up how Kate is an excellent shot and Anthony scoffs at it, Kate, who doesn't want to hang out with Anthony, takes offense to it, saying, "What, you don't believe me?" And the answer is no, Anthony doesn't. He thinks that maybe Kate aims straight on the field, but when it comes to actually killing animals, she would fail. And you can't blame him. The fact is, a lot of women that time don't hunt. But because Anthony is so dismissive, Kate bullies her way into going. She's the only woman to go on this hunt. And during the hunt, Kate notices that the animal tracks are leading in a completely different direction than the hunt is heading. She mentions it to Anthony, but Anthony blows it aside, saying, "We'll follow everybody else." The more they go deeper in the woods, though, the more empty-handed they're coming up. They're not finding any animals. It gets to the point where Kate decides, screw this, I'm doing this thing on my own, and walks off. Anthony, not wanting anything to happen to her, follows her. And it seems like Kate is onto something because she hears a deer not too far away. She gets in position to shoot it, and as Anthony is yelling at her, he notices that she's holding the gun incorrectly. He goes to fix it. They get super close. They once again come close to kissing, and then it gets interrupted when the rest of the hunt says, "Oh, there you are." And they have to act like none of that ever took place. They then continue on with the hunt with the rest of the group. As they're trying to kill some deer, Edwina, Daphne, Lady Mary, and Lady Danbury are busy playing cards. The more Edwina talks about what she wants in a match, though, the more Daphne realizes that's not Anthony. Edwina then tells Daphne about her plan to get Kate and Anthony to like each other. She truly thinks this is a perfect plan. While those women are playing cards, everybody else is playing some sort of activity. That includes Lady Featherington and Prudence. Lady Featherington tells her daughter that she has one more chance to seduce Cousin Jack before everybody starts calling Cressida Cowper the new lady of the house. She really tries to hammer home the point that this weekend is huge for them. Now, one person who is absent from this is Colin, because as soon as Colin found out that Miss Thompson lived not too far away, he planned a trip out there. When he arrives, he sees the cold, hard reality. Miss Thompson is holding her baby, Oliver. They get caught up. Everything seems to be going okay. But then Miss Thompson's husband shows up. Now, Colin has one foot out the door. He's ready to leave. But when the topic of Greece gets brought up, Colin gets all chatty. Turns out that Miss Thompson's new husband, Lord Crane, has some books and drawings on botany from Greece. So he says, "You must stay. Have dinner with us." Marina tries to say, Colin probably has to get back, but Colin says, no, I've got nothing to get back to, and does end up staying, looking at the drawings and really hitting it off with Lord Crane. When it actually does come time for Colin to leave, though, Crane gives Marina and Colin the time alone together to say their goodbyes. And Marina calls Colin out on his actions, saying, so you just showed up here to befriend my husband? Why did you come? And Colin tells her that he came to apologize. He didn't like how he ended things with the two, and he's forgiven her. But she tells him, you don't need to do either. You don't need to apologize for me, and you certainly don't need to forgive me because I don't seek that. But the real thing that Marina tells Colin is to get over it. He's super focused on the past that she thinks that he can't look ahead to the future because that's something that she has done. She's content with her life. She never thinks about what could have been. That's the past. As Colin is leaving, Marina tells him, there are those in your life that you already make happy. You have your family. You have Penelope. And Colin says, Penelope? Marina tells him, seek those people out because your future will not be in the past with me. He then is forced to head home, alone. And he's not the only one who arrives back late at night. So does Kate and the rest of the hunting group. As soon as she enters the room, Edwina starts grilling her on how it went. And Kate doesn't want to get into details, so just to shut her sister up, she tells her, I think it went well. She never once mentions the close call, but it does keep her up at night. Well, that and the thunderstorm outside. She can't sleep, and she decides to go into the library and start looking at books. But Anthony, who also couldn't sleep, was walking by the room, saw the light on, and popped in. He walks up to her and says, these books were my father's most cherished possessions. She then asks, how did he die? And he looks at her and says, a bee sting. And she feels horrible. He starts talking about how difficult it was for him to see his father, a great man, get humbled by such a small creature. But then he starts giving her that look. You know that look. And he starts getting closer with that look. And she's returning that look with her own look. They get snapped out of it, though, when thunder strikes, and they both go back to their rooms. The next day, the Bridgertons and their staff continue to get ready for the party. That includes Daphne and her mother. And Daphne starts telling Lady Bridgerton how great Edwina is. She knows what to say. She knows how to stand. She knows all of that. But the fact is, Daphne always imagined Antony was somebody more like himself. Edwina is nearly perfect, but at the end of the day, Antony is a Bridgerton. And Bridgertons like challenges. Edwina isn't that. So after talking to her mother, Daphne decides to go talk to her brother about the situation. But when she starts to pry and point out that they don't really have anything in common, he basically tells her to mind her own business. They then all get ready for that night's party. When Edwina does show up, Antony takes her for her first dance, but she's not the only one who's going to be dancing because Lady Bridgerton is hell-bent on getting Eloise a husband. She invited this random guy that Eloise has no interest in dancing with, but she goes along with it. He starts asking her questions, but when she shows even a hint of intellectual ability, he says, how about we get out of here and, go spike the punch bowl. And she's so turned off by him that she ends up walking off the dance floor, which is a horrendous look for not just him, but also for her mother. When her mother tries to step in, Eloise stands up to her, telling her, I know I'm a disappointment to you, but just let me take my leave and go to bed. But Lady Bridgerton is not the only mother that's meddling. So is Lady Featherington. She instructs Prudence to go wait in the orange room. And then she walks up and interrupts a conversation between the new Lord Featherington and Cressida, telling the new Lord Featherington that there's a guy looking for him in that room, and he wants to talk to him about business or something. She then waits a little bit and escorts a trove of people to that room, where they catch the new Lord Featherington and Prudence alone. This is completely taboo. Lady Featherington acts mortified. She makes it out to be like the new Lord Featherington was making moves on Prudence. Even though he wasn't, he denies it. But since there are witnesses, Prudence is now bound to him. And he knows exactly what Lady Featherington was up to. He knows that she planned this all along. And so does Penelope. She tries to talk to Prudence about the situation. Prudence doesn't think it's a big deal. So what? The guy got conned. In fact, the only thing she cares about is Lady Whistledown writing about it in her new pamphlet. Penelope tries to explain to her that if Whistledown writes the full story, it won't just ruin Prudence, it'll ruin the entire family. They could be run out of town. But Prudence thinks that this is just Penelope being jealous that Prudence will be in Whistledown and Penelope won't. She has no idea she's actually talking to the real Lady Whistledown. And Prudence does have a good point, even if it's by mistake. How would Whistledown even know? She has no idea, but she's basically calling Lady Whistledown's bluff. As cousin Jack is getting scammed back out on the dance floor, things are going great between Anthony and Edwina. They've danced twice, which is a really good sign for Edwina. But Edwina wants Kate to dance with Anthony because she figures that Anthony is going to want to ask Kate's blessing if he's going to propose. Kate doesn't want to dance with Anthony because things have gotten really awkward with the two lately, but she's all but forced to. So the two head out on the dance floor, and Anthony does ask for permission, but Kate asks, can you make her happy? Anthony doesn't say a word, and Kate points out, your silence is speaking volumes. Are you starting to reconsider? And Anthony poses the question, is that what you want? You want me to reconsider? Kate then reveals that it doesn't matter what she wants because she's returning to India the moment that Edwina marries. And this is coming as shocking news to Anthony, and he doesn't take it well. Kate explains that this was the plan all along, but the way that Anthony looks at it, it's as if Kate is abandoning her sister. He ends up storming off the dance floor, and Edwina goes and questions her sister on what the hell just happened. Kate has to act like she has no idea, but she goes and tracks down the Vi account immediately to have a further conversation about this. She finds Anthony in his father's library stewing over it. He can't believe that she's going to leave, not even concerning herself with finding a match of her own. And she can't understand why he cares about that. The conversation then weirdly segues into why Kate doesn't like Anthony. But then they start giving each other that look. You know that look. And they get closer and closer, and they're about to kiss until Daphne walks in. And it's not a good look for the two. Although Daphne can commiserate because Anthony did the same thing to her last season. He races after Daphne to explain that wasn't what it looks like. They first get into an argument about the difference between the situation that Daphne just witnessed and the situation that Daphne found herself in a year ago. The difference in Anthony's eyes is the fact that he's a guy. Finally, Daphne has had enough. She can't keep quiet, and she points out that it's obvious to her that Anthony has a thing for Kate. She begs him to just be honest with himself. And she even goes so far as to use the L word, love. He looks at her, nods, and says, then I know what I must do. The next day, everybody gets ready to leave. But before the Featheringtons head off, Lord Featherington lets Lady Featherington know that her plan is a bust. He plans on marrying Prudence, just as he promised, and just as Lady Featherington wanted it. But she should know that Prudence is marrying a penniless man. He had talked about all these diamond mines that he had in America, but in reality, those were complete and total bust. When Lady Featherington says, you paid for Philippa's dowry, he says, yeah, with a promise of a ruby necklace. I have no money. The only way to keep this family afloat was to marry into money. Somebody like Cressida Cowper. So, way to go. While those two are having a private conversation in a room, on the outside of that room, Penelope runs into Colin. They start talking about his meeting with Marina, and maybe this could finally be the opportunity that Colin needs to move on. And Colin tells Penelope, even though Marina said she was content, I just can't shake the feeling that if Whistledown didn't write her gossip, things may have turned out differently for her. But I guess there is no use on dwelling of the past, so I will focus on the future. He then leaves. And so does everybody. Edwina and Kate are about to get in their carriage, and Edwina is saying, we did everything we could to get this engagement, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. And Kate, having been pressured by Lady Danbury the previous night to tell Edwina about the fact that she needs to marry into wealth, is about to. But then Anthony runs out, gets down on one knee, and pops the question. Edwina excitedly says, yes. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this sucked. Make sure to be nice in the comment section. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen there, I'll get it up in a few days, not to worry. And I have merchandise, so go buy a mug or something. It's never too early to think about Christmas gifts, folks. But once again, thank you for checking out this recap.